conference, and we're doing this all virtually, as you are all well aware at this point in the current world we live in. This, I always find these welcomes to be sort of awkward and some of the more boring parts of the conference typically. So I appreciate you all showing up for this, because it actually will have some more details about how we're actually going to run this conference in a way that hopefully allows us to retain some of the interactivity that we would have at the in-person meetings. So thank you all for joining in now. As for the usual boring parts, there's the part where we thank everybody, and there's usually forced applause from the various audience and reception, the people in the audience for this. And since you cannot actually applaud now, I'll just assume that all of you are applauding at home. So on behalf of Chevalier and myself, I'd like to thank the organizing committee, Paul, Ashok, John, Pat, and Sergey, for helping, for first creating this community, and then helping guidance and sort of managing this transition to virtual process that we are doing for this one. The program committee, which is essential for, of course, reviewing the papers, and in a community as broad as ours, it's important to be able to review papers that are outside of your area and be able to understand how it impacts the broader mission. And therefore, these reviews are always sort of a challenging process, and I appreciate the program committee's prompt reviewing. We also had a few chairs that we haven't had in the past, which were particularly helpful in managing this this endeavor. So I want to thank Nate Durbinski for fundraising, Tom Williams for his social media work, and Preeti Ramaraj, who was essential in helping us test everything out to try to make sure that we'll have as smooth a day as possible. Of course, you don't have a conference without papers, and so we want to thank the authors who submitted the 42 papers that were submitted in this conference. And we currently have over 250 plus registered attendees, with more trickling in by the minute. As you probably are aware, the process of registration was a little bit different and had a few manual steps, so therefore bear with us as we continue to send emails out about additional information. But I guess if you're here, then you have made it through the Slack channel and you have found the passwords correctly. So the mission of cognitive systems is to sort of refocus on the initial goals of artificial intelligence and cognitive science. And that is where we want to basically explain in computational terms the mind, and do so by reproducing a broad range of human cognitive abilities. All of this done within a computational artifact. And as a broad a mission as that is, it's one that I think attracted many of the people in this Zoom to study this in the first place. We list a number of sub-areas of interest, and we collected these in the registration. And I always find this to be interesting, because I think most people who study these sub-areas might say that that's all of cognitive systems, because these are each one of these is an incredibly broad area of itself. And as you can see, we have wide coverage of what people think are the most important broad areas. People also noted that we collected nationality information, or nation of where they were going to be joining from. This was in hopes of facilitating the scheduling a bit more, but we had a few things that helped us with respect to trying to make sure that people were scheduled to give talks in time zones that made at least somewhat sense. And those of you who reached out and said, hey, I don't want to present at 2 in the morning, I appreciate that. That was one that obviously slipped through the cracks, and we were able to adapt the schedule appropriately. So at this point, the program overview, when you want to see the schedule for any of the given days, you've all been to the schedule link at this point. That's where we will make updates there as necessary, but I think at this point the schedule is fairly fixed. And we've had fun times with this. Is all times are the Pacific time zone. We are currently in Pacific Daylight Time, so that's GMT -7. Those of you who made it here, clearly we were successful in communicating that. I always get my daylight and standard times confused. we should hopefully just do away with that at some point, but that's the end of my political discussion of the day. We have a series of 3 invited speakers. So this morning we'll have Andrew Gordon. Tomorrow we'll have Cynthia Matuzek. And on Wednesday we will have Chad Jenkins talking about a wide range of things here from narrative to social robotics. We also have a series of special sessions. This includes a fireside chat with Gary Marcus and Ken Forbes. That will be this afternoon. We have a Herbert A. Simon Prize award. Normally it's an award lecture, but this time it's a memorial symposium for Patrick Henry Winston. And we're very fortunate to have a number of his close collaborators describe interactions with their work. So that will be tomorrow afternoon. On Wednesday, we will have an academic panel on training the next or producing more cognitive systems researchers. And they'll be discussing challenges in creating course curriculum and different strategies they've taken in addressing that. And so we thank all the chairs of these groups as well as the panels for putting it together. On the before and after the conference, the next 2 days, we'll also have a set of student mentoring sessions. So thank you, Nikhil, Chris, Adam, and Maria for volunteering. And in doing so, they will basically be hosting in Zoom Room 1. And if you are currently a student, feel free to join one of those rooms. These people have all graduated in cognitive systems in the past. Quite recently, I think maybe 5 years would be the longest for one of these. And they will, you have people in academia, people in industry, and discussions about how they went about going and navigating that, finishing the PhD and finding jobs, which is always something that I know many, is on the mind of many PhD students. We'll have 5 technical talk sessions. Each regular presentations will be 30-minute slots. Short presentations, which are indicated, will be 15-minute slots. And we have 6 poster presentations. Each will have a 2 to 3 minute advertisement followed by an interactive session in an assigned Zoom room. So we definitely spent a lot of time trying to think about how this is all going to work, what would make this the easiest, and how to best communicate the information at the conference while also allowing for people to interact. And to do this, we decided we would use Zoom for voice and slides and video, and Slack for text-based interactions. I see that the QA link, there should not be a QA link in the Zoom, and it's probably best to not use the chat in the Zoom, as the Zoom meeting will open and close throughout the conference, and those things will be lost and moved to the wayside. Much better to use Slack throughout the entire conference to communicate with one another through either direct messages or on specific issues or on specific, around specific technical talks, as we'll talk about in a second. So as I said, the main track is a Zoom webinar. That means that only panelists can speak or be visible. So right now there's 2 panelists here. It's myself and Preeti, and we're the hosts who can assign other people those responsibilities. And everyone else is just able to communicate through Slack as well as through, everyone else can communicate through Slack. Each talk will be recorded and then placed on YouTube at a late, after the talk is over, as directed by, unless we're explicitly directed by the speakers that they do not want this to happen. We will then, you will then be able to put each talk link into Slack for other people to visit after you've completed it, and therefore you can continue discussions about things that for people who might be in time zones that do not allow them to attend your talk. The Zoom links channel includes a link for each Zoom along with the password. We will only change this password if something bad happens. I hope that we can avoid that. But of course, I've heard stories from other conferences, and therefore we need to have a way of updating it. So this is the way that we have chosen to do it. And therefore, if you ever have problems getting in, please go back to the Zoom links. This pinned message will always be easily accessible there. and we'll have the Zoom password links. So once again, you're in the main track right now. This is where the invited talks will be, the technical talks, poster advertisement talks, the Simon Prize talks, and the academic panel will all be in this on this link. The 5 rooms, I guess now we can go to the next part. So now how does this actually going to go about to working? So during talks, so right after this one, we have our first invited talk, which will be Andrew Gordon, and the session will be chaired by Paul Bello. They will both be made panelists on the Zoom webinar. They will, as the talk is going on, each talk has its own separate Slack channel. So Andrew Gordon's Slack channel will be hashtag invited talk Gordon. You can use the channel browser to search for the channels if you cannot find them. And then once you have, and then while you're watching the talk, you might decide to post a question. So here's a sample question. You just put it into the Slack channel, and the session chair will be watching the Slack channel, as are maybe other collaborators of the so the session chair will be watching the Slack channel. And at the end of the session, we'll select questions. We'll select and pose questions to the speaker from the Slack channel. If the speaker's collaborators want to chime in and start a discussion around something as the questions are happening, that's encouraged, and that's just fine. And that type of interaction, I think, provides a different type of richness than you would have in a normal conference, and one that we should take advantage of here. Now for the poster sessions, so after that, so that'll be the next hour from 8:30 to 9:30 Pacific time. After that, we'll have our first poster session. In the first poster session, we have three posters that will be presenting. They will each give their 2 to 3 minute introductions here in the main track, and they will be in the order of the program that you have here. So in the same way we will be making them panelists, they will then present here. They'll be able to share screens directly, and we will cycle through the 3 of them. So after 10 minutes, when we've made it through all of those, then we have roughly a 50-minute break for poster discussion. And that will occur in the assigned the corresponding Zoom rooms. So the speakers will move from, based upon a number next to their name in the schedule, they will move to those rooms. So Jorge will move to room 1, Morgan will move to room 2, Noah to room 3, and Andrew to room 4. And in doing so, then once again, the links are still all the same. And then that will act as a break, as well as one opportunity for more immediate interaction between meeting participants. Now, in those Zoom rooms, only the presenters should share their screens. Please be mindful of those waiting, as you can ask lots of follow-up questions. Typically, in a general poster session, we'd be able to elbow each other out of the way, or make noises, or stand awkwardly out of eyesight and use all kinds of nonverbal cues. That won't be possible here. So just be aware of the other people that are in the room. And also we will make, as quickly as we can, we will make each presenter the host of their own meetings. So therefore they'll have the ability to mute everybody, or and not let other people unmute if things get unruly. But I think that we're a pretty respectable bunch, so I don't think there's going to be too much. I hope we don't have to do that, but I just want to make sure that that's aware. And of course, we've all been living in this world for 6 months now, or I don't know, I guess 4 months, 4.5 months. And in doing so, please just mute when you're not speaking. I'm sure that we're going to forget at some point. I'm sure somebody's going to forget. And we'll just try our best to always have that going, because it sort of slows down and provides a lot of noise in the communication channel. Also, with those after the individual poster talks, you'll be able to do the work where you can continue the discussions for each individual paper in that Slack channel throughout the conference. So if you want to come back and raise another issue, that's I think a really productive way of using this time that we're sort of all taking to share together to think about these cognitive systems research questions. So then after the poster session, there'll be our first technical talk session. This will have three technical talks in it. Each one of these is 23 minutes long with questions at the end. Once again, the questions will be posed to the Slack channel, so which are listed there in the program. And then during the scheduled break following, individual participants will be able to, the speakers should make themselves available in the corresponding Zoom rooms. So Sergey and company can go to Zoom room 1, Nikhil can be in Zoom room 2, and Jamie will be in Zoom room 3. So a few additional instructions to help me manage who's going to be the ones who are presenting. Please indicate in your talk Slack channel who's going to be the person. That's going to be the person that we will then promote in the panelists in the webinar. If you have problems, please post to the Tech Trouble Slack channel, and those will go to myself, Preeti, and Shivali, and of course anybody else can chime in if there's issues there. And if you're having problems logging into Slack, then please reach out to each of us by email to help facilitate things. So we have one slight change from previous conferences. So due to Patrick Henry Winston winning the Simon Prize last year, we had intended to use the cash prize from that as a way of bringing facilitating travel for speakers at the Memorial Symposium. Given that we are all virtual and travel is no longer an issue, his estate has agreed to the idea of using that prize as a way of funding a Best Student Award over the next 10 years at the Advances of Cognitive Systems Conference. So this is given to the best paper with a student as first author. So I would like to announce that Yuan Yang's paper on the Raven progressive matrices is our first winner for the student paper. So congratulations, Yuan. I'm sure the applause is deafening that we cannot hear right now. The paper provides a clear description of the problem space for visual analogy, from the pixel level to the rules that operate over them, and the similarity criteria necessary to guide reasoning. From a cognitive systems perspective, this work highlights the importance of combining high-level control with low-level representations to achieve high performance on this challenging cognitive task. This talk will be done at Wednesday at 11:30, so you'll have to stick around, but I guess no one's traveling, so we're good anyways, until the conference, until the third day of the conference, to hear Yuan and Keith and Mathley talk about it in more detail. With that, I want to encourage everyone to, this will be, to still find a way to enjoy your time at the conference, even if it's all virtually. So please reach out to people on Slack channels about what's going on, and discussing all of the interesting talks and research that will be presented here. And always, if you have problems, this is how you reach us. So with that, thank you very much. And let's have Andrew and Paul. I'm going to make you now panelists, and we can then hand over presentation to you all to get ready for the next session with the invited talk.